Hey, welcome back to another day of virtual learning. We're going to take a look at a few things. That is actually my breakfast that's in the background. Let me move that. I did not get a chance to scarf down those eggs. Here we are, 9 o'clock. We're ready to go. A few new resources for us today. There's been some changes. A lot of people have talked about what's appropriate to use, what's safe for you to use, so that your student information isn't getting out there. And I know a lot of people were relying on Google Hangouts and a number of other resources to deliver content. Zoom, Google Hangouts, those are a few of them that have been used. And of course, some of you have been on Schoology and you've been using the conference feature that's on there. Just kind of as a heads up, some of that is changing, and it's changing because of information. We just want to make sure that you're safe, your information is safe, our information is safe, and that in the public realm, we're delivering the content in the safest way possible during this time. So, with that in mind, this is one of the new resources that we're using here. Let me switch over real quick. Okay. And with this new resource, we're talking about Google Meets. So you'll notice this if you were to go up to your little grid that's actually in your email here. If you go up there, you can scroll down and you can look for Google Meet. That's what the icon looks like. And that'll take you to the page that I'm presently on. So I'm going to go ahead and go out there and take a quick look. And of course, teachers will be scheduling meetings and they'll be creating codes for different classes. So at their different prescribed hours, you can hop in there and you can join them for different content that's being delivered, or to meet with them and answer questions and whatever it may be. But that's a new resource that we are working with henceforward here. And if I'm going to use anything, I'm going to use this. To be honest, Schoology has been a little dicey. I don't want to use the conference feature in Schoology simply because Schoology has not been super reliable. I've had problems uploading stuff. I know you guys have had problems uploading stuff as well. We got an email today saying that their servers are adapting to the amount of traffic, which means they're not prepared for this kind of scenario, which of course nobody is. But Google Meets, being that it's Google, is probably going to be way more reliable. So I'm going to go with that. Just so you know. So if there's anything that goes out in Schoology, if there's any emails that go out to your group through Schoology, anything like that, it's going to be referring to Google Meets, and we'll be set up for that. Okay, let's head on back here. And we're starting off with Digital Media 1, or Digital Media 2, sorry. And as we take a look at some of the stuff here, the big thing that I really want to show you is we had to create our level 1 design in Unity. And people were uploading their walkthroughs, and that's pretty much what I want to send you at this point here, is that whole thing. So here are some examples of different walkthroughs as they are. So let's take a look at this. I want to open up this tab, sorry, and let's send that over. Okay, so in this one, we can see, let me take a look where we're at in our playlist. That's Jenna's. She did a great job of experimenting with different scripts here, or different sprites, and putting those all together, and just testing out what you can do with this character. Okay, and the next one here, we're taking a look at Keaton's, and Keaton found the water sprite and put that into effect here. And just working on putting different groupings together of sprites. This is going to help Keaton down the road because he will be able to create what's called a prefab, and he's going to be able to use those prefabs to speed up his design of his level. And that's what I plan on showing you next here. All right, and skipping next to Owen's. Owen put together a whole mix of all the different platforms here. Of all the tile sets that were available, he mixed all of them together, which is great. So he found a variety of different sprites. He's using those. He's experimenting with what works here. And you can see he's got a pretty elaborate level here that keeps going on. Now we've got the desert sprites and that's awesome. And that's looking really good. Okay. All right. Excellent. So we're going to head back on over there and let's clear this out. And we're going to head into Unity at this point, and I want to show a few things that are relating to a number of questions that came up based off of yesterday. So yesterday you worked on building your level. You added on a package called Cinemachine. I think a lot of you noticed that multi-use camera rig, it was doing weird things with your camera where it was bending it and all that kind of stuff. So we added on that Cinemachine yesterday. Here are a few of the specifics. So let me hop over there and boom. Okay, so in here, with the Cinemachine added on, the big thing is many of you had backgrounds. Okay, so here's an example of a background. Okay, and on that background, you had to add on a polygonal collider. Okay, and then you had to transform that to fit that background. Now, the big thing that I found out a lot of people forget the first time around is they forget to actually set this as a trigger. They also forget that they need to take this background and drag it in on their Cinemachine camera. So if I were to look at those steps really quick here, I've got my Cinemachine list. I create my 2D camera. Okay, and I'm just breezing through this here. We added an extension on called Cinemachine Confiner. Okay, and now I've got this background that has that collider on it, the polygon collider. I'm going to take that and drag that in here. Okay, so now everything is confined to this area on here. I also, because I just set this up from start here, I'm going to take that and drag my character into the follow area. So now it will actually follow my robot boy. All right, and let's zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to take this particular object and transform it a whole bunch so that it fits what we're looking at here. And then I'm going to put that down into the background. Okay, and don't forget, one of the important things here is throughout this whole process, you want to make sure that you are sorting your sprites. So again, this is a quick reminder, if you're losing sprites behind things, we can sort them into different layers. I just put this back into -10 space, and we've got that. Another nice thing that you might like in the sprite area, aside from the sorting, by default, any of the sprites that you put in will have a color of white. Now we can customize the sprites a little bit by changing that up. So I can come in here, click on that color, and that brings up my color palette here. And now with my color palette, I can choose some different colors that I want to work with. So maybe I want to work with some blues here. Okay, and let's get those up. And something like this. Okay, and now I've got this blue background that's working in there. Okay, excellent. So that is a quick once over on the Cinemachine and some of the dilemmas that people had. If you don't have that trigger checked, this is what you might experience. I just uncheck trigger on the confiner, and my character is right in the middle of that, and you can see he falls right through everything. Okay, so that definitely does not work in that kind of situation there. Okay, now let's make sure that my platform is all set here. And background, we're going to put the confiner, the trigger back on. All right, and play. Oh, that's problematic. Okay. And Cinemachine camera is following him. And we've got that on there. This is what I get for like whipping through this in record time here. Okay. I will come back to this actually. This isn't what I wanted to spend my time on right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in here and make sure that, let's take my background out of there. Make sure that's not part of the problem here. And there's my Cinemachine camera. And there's that. And let's see what he's looking at in the game mode here. Okay, and again on my Cinemachine, I want to make sure that my character is dragged in there. And he's looking at and following that. And I'm just going to remove my confiner for right now and remove component. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it should be back and working. Oh, but he's not. Okay, let's try dragging that sprite in. Again, we're going to put in a different platform here. And we're going to make sure that that is all transformed so that it will actually interact with my character here. There's Robot Boy. And he's all set up with the box collider and his circle collider. Oh, he's falling through everything here. Okay, so some obvious problems here. Now, with my character, I'm just going to take off gravity right now and put it to 0 so that we can see what's going on with that. That way, when we hop in here, we can at least see what's going on with our character. And you can see there he is running and jumping, and no gravity is going to jump for quite a while. So you can see how you can change some different variables like that. Now, the main thing that I really wanted to show you today, aside from going through those few little dilemma things there, is how to swap animations. And this is just going to be really quick because I actually have a reference to a tutorial that's in the description. So you're going to want to take a look at that. But the first stop that I made was I hopped over to our site that we've been using. And let me put that up. I went over to GameArt 2D. Again, I went into the Freebies tab. And then in the Freebies tab, we have all these different sprites that are in here that are custom made. And you can see I've got a bunch of different characters. Now, our character has been this Robot Boy character. And obviously, we want to swap that out to something that's more customized to our game. We already have been down here and downloaded tile sets. So now we're going to hop in here and grab a character. One of the characters that I've tried out here is this dino set here with all the different dino sprites. One thing that I've noticed about that is that the sprites for the dino are really off-center. They look really good, but they take some adjusting if you were to use those. The rest of these are pretty good. You might want to take a look at what it is that these different characters can actually do. Okay, so if I hop in here and I take a look at this character, we've got the idle animation. We can run, attack, throw, jump. We've got a jump attack, a jump throw, and we've got all those different things that go on with this character. Not all of the characters have the same exact animations. So if I hop back real quick here and I take a look at the zombies, for instance, okay, you can see they've got idle, walk, attack, and dead, and that's pretty much it. So depending on what you might want to shape your 2D game like, that might shape some of your decisions here of who you choose for a character. Yeah, excellent. So I've already got one downloaded. We're going to head back to Unity. And in Unity here, I've got the Temple Run character, which is like the little Indiana Jones kid. And this is what I've got. I've got a number of different sprites. Let me put these up here so we can actually see them. And you can see I've got a dying animation, idle, jumping, sliding, running, all of those things. And the most obvious one to start with here is idle. Now before we jump right into creating an animation here, and you can see these go frame by frame by frame here. And the better the animations, the more frames they have, so they're more fluid and smooth. But that also requires more sprites, and it also requires more processing power. So some things to kind of consider as you put together games here. So before we look at an animation though, we're going to make sure that we have a new tab on our setup up here. So the tab that we're looking for is we're looking for an animator tab. If you don't have that right now up here, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the window menu. So I'm hopping up to window. And then if I scroll down, I will see first animation. Okay, that is not the one that I want, just to be clear. It's very misleading. That does something completely different. And then I have my animator. So once I check that, I will have the animator tab, and then I can move that animator tab to go wherever I need that. Okay, so in this case, I've got mine right up here because it's really handy to actually be able to see all of this stuff. Okay, now to give you an idea of what's going on up here, if you hold Option and then click and drag, you can move this around. And that is probably one of the most frustrating, irritating things about this right out of the gates is just navigating, because I can zoom out and then wherever the mouse is, I can zoom in, and you can see it's focusing on those different areas, but that takes forever to do. So I just like usually to kind of zoom in, hold Option, and then go ahead and drag this over to whichever one I'm looking at. Now, these are all the animations that are presently on my robot boy. Now, one thing that I want to make sure of whenever I'm working with the animator is I want to make sure that I have whatever has the animations on it selected. So in this case, the robot boy is selected, and because of that, I can hop in here, and now I can go ahead and look at, oh, robot boy idle. So when I select idle, and I go over here to the inspector, I will see there is the idle animation for robot boy. And that is the very first one that we're going to swap out. Okay, so the process goes something like this. We're going to come down to our animations, our new ones. Okay, and we're going to select the very first one in the idle animation, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to select all the way to the last animation of the idle. So in this case, it's 10 animations altogether. Okay, 0 through 9. Right, now once I've got all those selected, I'm going to take these and I'm going to drag them up into my hierarchy. And because I've got multiple sprites selected, it automatically knows that I want to create an animation. Now, I'm going to call this just idle. We're going to keep it really simple. If you've got, actually that works out perfect here. And now for where I'm going to save this, I'm going to save it right back to the same folder that I've got all these sprites in. That way I can actually find these later. Okay, and I can move them around a little bit for now. So idle and save. Now when I do that, two things are going to pop up. Okay, one is the animation, and then the other is the controller. Now we already have a controller that's on our character, so we don't need this. So just to avoid confusion, right away I'm going to right click on it after I select it, and I'm going to delete it. Okay, so once I get rid of that, hopefully I'm going to delete it. There we go, and delete. Okay, now we're going to do our first swap here. We're going to take our idle animation and we're going to drag it onto our character. So I'm going to select idle. Okay, and once idle selected, you can see there's the robot boy idle. I'm going to swap it out with this new one. So I'm going to just click and drag my new idle animation up there. And now you can see robot boy idle is no longer there. It's just the idle one that's here. Okay, we're going to do one more thing before we actually hop in here. And this is going to allow us to actually see our character on a regular basis. I'm going to hop in here, select my character, and over here I have a sprite, a single sprite, that is representing my overall character. You can see right now that's the robot boy idle, the very first sprite. I'm going to swap that out with my very first idle sprite of my new character. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to drag that in there. Okay, excellent. Now, right now, our character Robot Boy is a prefab. Okay, and what that means is it can be very challenging to make changes to him sometimes. Like the changes do not automatically apply. So what I'm going to do just to make sure that henceforward we can add in what we want to our character, I'm going to right click on him and I'm going to go down and let's see here. There should be an option on this. Click, select, and select prefab. And let's see here. Should be a way I can unpack my prefab here. Create empty. It's not giving me that option right now. Select prefab. And I can't unpack it down here. So I'm just going to show you how we can add those updates. I'm going to select that character that's a prefab, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make sure that I apply all the changes that I made. So at the very top of the inspector with the Robot Boy selected, I click apply, and now it has added on that change that I've made to my character. Okay, so now when I actually go in here, and you can see our character is quite a bit bigger than what Robot Boy was. I'm going to take him, go back to my scene. I'm going to move him up a little bit. Okay, now I'm seeing two things in here, and this is where it can get a little misleading. I'm seeing my actual character, and I'm still seeing this animation that I dragged in here. So now that I've created the animation and it's saved in my folder and I've already dragged it to where it needs to be, I'm going to go ahead and take this idle animation and I'm going to delete it out of here. Okay, so now when I go back to my scene, I have one character and the animation is no longer there, throwing us off. Okay, so when I hop in here, you can see because he's dropping in right now. Okay, apparently he's not going to drop in at all because of the gravity. Oh, he's falling, so he's a little confused right now as to what's going on. Okay, if I go into my animator, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take some of this out of here. Right now, how do I want to do this? By entry, he's coming in. We have our character. All right, he is actually animating with our new idle. Okay, and that's by default. What we're going to do is we're going to swap out, I'm going to take away his transition here. Okay, so let's see if this works. I'm going to select my transition. Go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to delete that out of there. So with the transition from jumping to idle, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And that's no longer in there. So he should come in and go right to idling right away. Okay, and he does not appear to be doing that. Okay, excellent. And that's where we're going to want to consult the actual, let's try dragging him back on here and delete. Okay, and he's in there. There we go. All right, so I just took my character off of there and dragged him back in as the new prefab because I made the changes on the prefab. The prefabs are in our prefab folder, and my character, my Robot Boy, should now look like my new character because of that new sprite I added in there. I'm not sure why it wasn't updating before. Okay, but you can see the idle animation is playing, and it's running through all the sprites, which it should. Okay, and when I zoom out and I look at this, you can see there he is, idling away. Okay, and now, unfortunately, if I go ahead and I do any of the other things that are in there, you can see they resort back to the other animations still because we haven't swapped those out. So my next step would go ahead and go through that same exact process all over again, and I would add in all of the different animations one by one. So I can go to my walk, which is going to be, if you don't have a walk and a run, you can put run in for both of them, that's fine. I can go to walk, I can create my animation. So I'm going to go back to my sprites folder, I'm going to go to my temple run folder. I've got my run, I'm going to the first sprite, and I'm going to click through all the way to the end, and at the very end of all this, I'm going to go ahead and drag all of these sprites into my hierarchy, and I'm just going to call this run, keep it simple, and save. And now you can see I've got my run animation, and there's that controller thing that I don't need, so I'm going to select that and delete. Make sure you always select because sometimes you click delete by itself and it'll take the whole folder out. Anytime you delete a folder, by the way, it goes into your trash can. You can always go to your trash and then drag that folder right back into your assets, and it's right back. There's like no need to panic about that. Okay, and I go delete, and now I've got this run animation. Let's reselect our character, and I'm going to zoom in so I can see the animator here. And I've got two places that I'm going to drag this in. Walk, I'm going to put it in for that because I don't have a walk animation. Okay, I'm going to drag that in there. I'm going to select run, and I'm going to drag the same exact animation in there too. So I just swapped both of those out. Okay, now you can see, again, I'm ending up with multiple animations that are showing up in here. I'm going to go back over to my hierarchy, and I'm going to delete this out of there. So I'm getting rid of that run animation so that we don't see it. Okay, and we're going to go to that, and I believe we've got everything all set now. And I hop into playing, and you can see now, oh, he's floating in air there. Oh, and he's jumping out of the scene. Let's go back, play again. There he's idling, and there he's walking, and after a certain speed, he'll switch over to the run. Okay, and that's the process that we're going to work through. If your character doesn't have a crouch, don't worry about it. Don't put the crouch animation in there. Just leave it as it is for right now. And then the very last thing is, with the video, I would definitely watch that to go along with the process, so that you can see the jumping animation as well, and kind of follow the steps that go along with that. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for Digital Media 2. That was a long segment there for you guys, but gives you hopefully a good idea of what's going on. Excellent. I'm going to switch this up, and we're back into here, and that means that we are now over to web design. Okay, and for web design, I've been meeting with people about the mock websites. I have more meetings scheduled for today. The biggest thing that I can say for web design is have your Photoshop document ready to share. We will be using our new resource for web design. So we will be using the actual, I'm already zoning on the name of it here, the Google Meet. So we'll use Google Meet. That's what we'll use for our conferences to talk now. So when I go ahead and send you that invite, or you send me that invite, we can join up in there to go back and forth and talk about your site. Nice thing is we can also share our screen, so we can go through the mock-up of everything and lay it out. That is a necessary part of the whole conversation, because again, it's from client to web designer, so that you can get feedback and then make the next changes. And then starting as early as next week here, you'll start coding that site out. Okay, and that pretty much sets you up for web design. I look forward to the meetings. The meetings that I've had so far have been great. They've been awesome, so I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, just make sure you have good communication throughout that process. Excellent. That covers web design. I know that's really quick, but you know, different class, different things going on there. Okay, let's put that down, and let's go ahead and hop over to game design. And again, game design is going to be relatively quick here too. Before I give a recap though about getting your requirements done for your level design, collectibles, make sure you get those done. Inventory, if you're adding an inventory in there, make sure you get that done. Okay, and add that all into your game. If you do the legwork now on those things, when we get into the 3D game design, it will be just that much easier. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. Remind me tomorrow. There we go. All right, so that way we can make sure that we get in there and get all those things done, and then they will transfer over to our 3D game. So bear with me. You know, do the learning right now so that it applies later to the 3D game. But here are two walkthroughs that I was particularly impressed with. They were exactly what we're looking for a walkthrough. One of them is Grady's. It's a top-down RPG style game, and he did a phenomenal job of laying out the map in his whole first level. He has multiple scenes that are worked in there. As I counted, it looked like 7, 8, maybe 9 scenes that are worked in there. And then the second game is Eltone's. And Eltone did a great job. He's doing a Line Rider game, and he put a lot of cool features in there, and it's when you look at it, it feels like a game. So I'm going to switch over to that and give you a quick preview of what's going on there. And we should be able to see all this. Let me drag this over right here. Yeah. And that should work pretty well because you don't need to see me. But I'm going to talk during these just to point out different things. All right, and I'm sending it over. And you can see he's got a start page and everything with his. And we've got different levels that are going on with different features and functionality for the Line Rider. Okay, and this is really well done. Okay, you can see that there's incentives, there's rewards, depending on how well you get to the end, how efficient it is, and where you end up in the actual like ending point. That adds all of that in there. So he's got different keys, modifier keys. So as you draw the lines, you can draw the different lines and they have different effects, bouncy lines versus the speed line that will actually speed you up. And you see that time he didn't get directly into the end zone there. So he did not get perfect. That time he got perfect. So very well done. Now he's got another level here where basically he's navigating between the lines. This is really clever. It's well done. And this is exactly what a Line Rider game feels like, so it's pretty slick. He avoids the lines, and then this one, he falls on the line and it resets. And he can draw the lines actually while in gameplay too, which is kind of cool. Oh, he got hung up there. Okay, and then it falls off, and boom. Excellent. So very cool. Very, very cool. All right, in the next one, this is Grady's. And this gives you a great idea of just taking some time to like really lay things out well. He's got all these different buildings that he can go into, and then he goes back to the main map here. And I mean, this looks great. It's outstanding. He's got a lot of stuff in here. Now, the next thing for Grady, of course, is for a game like this, an inventory and being able to pick up different items along the way on your quest, keys that unlock different areas, things like that. That's going to be huge for him here because he's got a great map to work with. It's all laid out. I mean, this goes on and on and on. It's like 4 minutes of video here that he's got all laid out. Yeah, definitely lots of exploring. Very cool. Very cool. So each time he goes into a building, it opens up a new scene, which is pretty slick. And then when he comes back, I'm not sure if he was able to figure this out or not, but when he came back, it updated the spawn point, or he was making a copy of the original scene, and then he was updating the spawn point in that new scene. Yeah, look at this. I mean, he just can go into lots of different buildings. Very well done. Nice job, Grady. This is exactly what the game walkthrough should look like. So as you get turning those in on Schoology, that is the big thing here is make sure that all of those are getting turned in and they should look like this. They're great. So shout out to Eltone and Grady. Nice job. Excellent. We're going to go ahead and head on here because game design, just a matter of getting your level all put together. If you have any specific problems, questions, anything like that, make sure that you send those over to me. We'll troubleshoot those together. We can hop on to our new setup here with Google Meet, and I can share the screen with you, and then I can walk through everything. So that would be an excellent way to go about doing that. We can go back and forth and troubleshoot on the spot. Then that brings up video production. Okay, so I'm gonna hop over to video production. And with video production, I think the big thing right now is I did create a new assignment for all of you. Okay, so that new assignment is on Schoology, and you knew that this was coming sooner or later here. So I'm gonna hop in there. Let me put this up to full screen so we can see what's going on. Okay, and in where we are at video production, take you on over to that. Sorry, internet's a little bit slow. I'm streaming, doing all this stuff. I'm sure my wife is streaming and doing stuff right now too. So yeah, a lot of bandwidth going out of the Hull house right now. All right, so cooking 101. Okay, we hop into that folder, and once we're in there, you will see the actual assignment. By the way, all of the different virtual days have been posted on all of the classes. So if you need to catch up on any of those videos to see what's going on, you can access them right from Schoology as well. And then you'll see that there is a cooking video assignment here. Obviously, we've been working in Adobe Premiere. The last 2 days, we've been going through a lot of the basic features of how to navigate the timeline, how to do basic things like cut your clips, resize them, scale them, move them around, take the sound and modify that, adding adjustment layers, titles, blank screen, all that kind of stuff, all the basics that you would need for your cooking video. Now this cooking video should be a very polished end result. Keep in mind this is a video that, yeah, we are using a new editor to put it together, but all of your skills that you've learned throughout the semester, first semester and second semester, still apply to this video. So it's still got to be quality as you put it together. You're going to be uploading it here, and as you can see, it is due Friday. That is by midnight, and that gives you a couple days to work on it. Now tomorrow, to make sure that people are meeting that timeline and that, I'm going to talk about exporting the video, which is definitely very different in Adobe Premiere, and then you'll be able to upload it here. So that should pretty much set you guys up for everything. All right, excellent. And that is video production, which takes me over to last but not least, Digital Media 1. Okay, now in Digital Media 1, right now we are, we should be finishing up our Photoshop stuff. Okay, so today is like the last day to get that last Photoshop assignment all said and done and turned in on Schoology. So just to recap for the end of the quarter here, you had a tutorial that you created and that you posted as a screen recording. And if you did that wrong and turned it in, I've already made comments to you back like, hey, you need to revise this, and some people have already resubmitted it, so it looks great. In addition to that though, you had to pick one of the tutorials, and I posted 3 of them, although somebody did realize that they could look at the other tutorials that are on there, and they went about doing one of the other tutorials as well. So if you did that, that works as well. The main thing is you're using one of the tutorials to do your very last Photoshop assignment, and that assignment is on Schoology, and you can get that turned in there. And I think it's worth their while to take a quick look at that, because we've got a lot of stuff going on here. It's getting kind of crazy. And let's go over to my courses. I am not creating the courses. Okay, and let's try that again. Backing up here, video production. This is what I mean. Schoology has been a little dicey lately. Okay, so as I head back, and there it is. Something went wrong. Either way, it's on Schoology. It's been up and down. Hop in there, you'll be able to take a look at that. This is exactly why I'm using Google Meet as opposed to the Schoology conferencing, and it's exactly why I'm streaming on YouTube as well, because I don't trust it. So here we are. The final thing for you guys, in preparation for the next couple live streams here, what I do need you to do is you have self-service. And on your self-service here, you will have to download a program. As you know, we're moving from Photoshop, which is all of our graphic stuff, to GarageBand, which is all of our audio. And you can see on Schoology that we have 2 downloads that are on here. I really just want you to grab the first one. Okay, so grab the GarageBand download, okay, and get all set up with that. You'll need that for tomorrow's lesson as we start some of the basics of that. So get that installed. If there is anything that is problematic about the installer, let me know. And then I can work with IT to get that remedied. But as of now, I've kind of tested it a little bit back and forth, and what I see and what you see are a little bit different here on Schoology. But it worked for me, and I didn't need any like admin passwords or anything like that. This one, I'm not 100% sure on. It may ask for an admin password, so just don't bother with that one yet. I'm going to be talking with IT about that today to make sure that it's ready and it's deliverable to you, and you don't have to worry about any passwords with it. Okay. Otherwise, get these two things, or get this downloaded, get GarageBand downloaded onto your laptop, ready to go for tomorrow, and we're gonna make some music. We're gonna be podcasting. We're gonna put together a radio show. We got a lot of stuff planned, and I'm looking forward to it here. And it's a great unit. It's a great virtual unit actually, because you'll be able to turn this up as loud as you want and not have to worry about disturbing anybody else around you, which will be great. And that's pretty much it for today. That's pretty much it. As always, I always wrap these up with the idea that, hey, if you have any questions whatsoever, make sure that you are asking those questions. Email me, drop me something on Schoology, provided it's working. But go ahead and contact me in some way here, and get a hold of me so that we can go through stuff. There have been a number of people that have been contacting me. I field anywhere from 75 to 100 emails in a day, and most of them are revolving around little things that come up. And you guys know how this stuff works. It's technology. It's not always, tried and true, and it's not always predictable. So, don't be afraid to do that. Nothing would be more frustrating than sitting at home and not being able to go through your schoolwork with this. And I'm a resource, and our IT department has been phenomenal during this whole virtual learning experience. So I encourage you, please reach out with any questions that you have. Otherwise, stay safe, and we'll hopefully be seeing you sometime soon. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. And thanks for joining us for another episode of Red Hawk Media, our virtual learning. Bye.